Well, hello, welcome back. This is Mike from Music City, and we're here with the latest installment of Rankin' Records. Now, I apologize, it's been a while since I focused on an individual artist, and I've been sitting on this one for so long, and I really need to get it out. And it's been a tough one for me. I listened to all the records, did a lot of reading, but I'm still still a little puzzled about how to rank them, and I'm going to maybe cheat a little bit on not doing a full ranking, but at least go through the catalog of this amazing band called the Ramones. I kind of didn't get the Ramones right away, much like my experience with the New York Dolls. Perhaps the first time I was exposed to them, I was just really too young to appreciate what punk rock was all about, and did grow to love the band over the years. Only got to see him live one time, and that was fantastically enough at CBGBs in 1976. You can read about that on my blog, musiccitymike.net. Don't have a lot of memories of it. Didn't know whether it made me a bigger of a fan or lesser of a fan, but kind of picked up on the records later. Didn't follow them very much in their latter years. I lived in Texas, and they didn't really come there very often, and kind of it's sad to say, but although they did remain active and keep touring, maybe some of the spark behind the Ramones sort of fizzled in their latter years. But anyway, nonetheless, I do want to take a look at their catalog. Now, if you go to my blog, I will have a post there, and I've done this neat little chart showing the releases, the release date, who produced the record, and sort of a graphic of the band lineups for the Ramones as they have changed through the course of the 14 studio records that we're going to run through today. Sad to say, and it's so surprisingly sad that all four original members of the Ramones are no longer with us. Joey, Johnny, Dee Dee, and Tommy are all gone. Man, it would just be great to see them today, because they'd be out there playing and people would be loving them up. I mean, gosh, everywhere you go, you see a Ramones t-shirt these days. So their fame is sort of, followed along, and sadly they're not here to see that. But my wife thinks I'm nuts, because all I did for about a month or two was read about the Ramones, and there's just so much great stuff to read there, and it really gave me such an appreciation for the band, and also seeing the different perspectives from the different band members was very, very fascinating. But let me show you what I did read. I read Dee Dee's book called Lobotomy. I read I Slept with Joey Ramone, not written by Joey, written by his brother, Mickey Leigh, who was also very involved with the band in terms of being a roadie, assistant manager, things like that. And then Commando by Johnny Ramone. I loved every one of these books, and it was very interesting just to get each different band member's perspectives on things, and then kind of piece them together and come up with your own, rationalization and conclusions as to what was really going on. The other book that I really enjoyed reading was this one, On the Road with the Ramones, by Monte Melnick, who was their lifelong manager. Really fun book. And it's all quotes throughout the book from different people that he's organized together, with a lot of great pictures, a lot of great memorabilia. Highly recommend this one. And I'll be honest, the two that I got that I didn't read yet were sort of on, not the original members, but Marky Ramone, who had spent quite a bit of time with the Ramones in and out of the band, and then Richie Ramone, who drummed for a while in between the time when Marky was kicked out of the band. But I haven't read these two yet. Looking forward to doing that as well. And also the other thing that I picked up from my Ramones reading, which I haven't read yet, is the 33 and a Third book on the Ramones. I love these 33 and Third books. This one's written by someone called Nicholas Rambas. I don't know who he is, and we're looking forward to reading that. So, hey-ho, let's go. Let's take a look at the Ramones catalog. Now, April 76 was the release of the debut record, Ramones, and this was the one I told you I had kind of a hard time with it. Songs about Now I Want to Sniff Some Glue and Beat on the Brat, Judy's. I didn't quite get him at the time. I was a little too young, but I learned to like this record. It's punk rock at its best. Very foundational, and a lot of stuff that followed from it. And just less than a year later, they came out with the second record, which was Ramones Leave Home. And these two records, I mean, they belong together. I think it was Johnny commented the fact that they recorded these two records in sequential order as to how they came about the songs. And I think the songs probably, all date from around the same time, and were put together that way. Now, and what we're looking at, my CD collection here is these Warner Archive series. Most of them double discs. Some of them just elongated discs. The songs were so short, there's a lot of room on that 80 minutes. But great bonus stuff on them. The second record here had some, great Ramones songs on here. Pinhead, Carbona Not Glue. I just laughing at these titles, but great stuff. And they did one of their first covers, California Sun. I mean, the Ramones started getting into surf music and became a part of their repertoire. I think one of the things that I really got to appreciate about the Ramones going through this catalog was just sort of listening to the covers that they did. They just had, great appreciation for good old classic rock and roll. And you're surprised, rather than thinking, oh, they'd only be doing Stooges songs or MC5 songs. No, they're doing a wide selection of great rock stuff. Now, the third album probably was my favorite. Well, I'm kind of getting around. Is my favorite. And here they started getting a little popular, and we can almost put these two records together. The third one, Rocket to Russia and Road to Ruin. Similar kind of in style, also in name, R to R. Rocket to Russia, Road to Ruin. But the third record, this to me is my favorite. And interestingly enough, this came out in November of '77, and I'm stealing something that a friend of mine said. I think it's very noteworthy. I don't know if you remember, but in '77, in December, the Sex Pistols were slated to be on Saturday Night Live and had to cancel at the last minute because they couldn't get their visa straight. Well, you may know that was the show that Elvis Costello came on and did his famous Stop Start Radio, and really got a lot of attention for him. But what I read in these books, and I can't believe all these years I didn't know it, and I think it was in Johnny's book, that the Ramones were actually offered that slot before Elvis and turned it down, kind of pounding your chest a little bit. Well, we don't play second choice to anybody, but man, and what my friend says is that if they would have been on following this record, they probably would have done two of their best songs ever, Rockaway Beach and Sheena is a Punk Rocker. What would that have done to the Ramones' career? It could have really been a big boost for them. So, again, maybe a little prideful arrogance got them in a little bit of trouble there. But these two records are just great. On Road to Rome, you also got one of their other best songs, I Want to Be Sedated. And here we're talking about the great covers. Here they did Do You Want to Dance? Here they did Needles and Pins, the Searcher song. So again, just two great records. And then what happened in Road to Ruin? Tommy Ramone, who was involved as a co-producer on the first four records. Craig Leone, Tony Bongiovi, and Ed Stasium were the other co-producers. Bongiovi did two of the first four. Tommy left, got tired of touring and playing, and on the Road to Ruin, the fourth record, Marky came in as drummer. So the next thing in the Ramones' career was a big 360, 180 turn, whatever. It was a big change for them. And we're talking about end of the century, where they went to Phil Spector as the producer. Now, I know a lot of Ramones fans don't like this record. I think it's a great record. I personally enjoy it. A lot of it, as much as Spector did with the Wrecking Crew, the Ramones weren't playing on the record. They used other players throughout. But it's got Do You Remember Rock and Roll Radio, Rock and Roll High School, which later went into their, was the song for their movie. Maybe the movie came before. I'm sorry about that. And it's also got a recording of Chinese Rock, which was a song that Dee Dee wrote that Johnny Thunders kind of took over and kind of claimed as his own, really not giving Dee Dee the credit that it was his song. But it is a song about heroin, and I think early on the Ramones didn't want to do it for that reason, but eventually it came out here. Not a bad record. Strangely enough, on here is their cover of Baby I Love You, which was a big hit for the Ronettes that Phil Spector produced. Turns out that was like their biggest hit ever in England, which is really, really bizarre. But Phil Spector ended the century with the 5th album. Number 6, we have another strange producer choice for the Ramones, and that's the Pleasant Dream album, which was produced by Graham Gouldman of 10cc fame. And also, they knew of Gouldman because he wrote great songs like Bus Stop and Heart Full of Soul for the Yardbirds. So I think they were interested in it, but at the end of the day, I think they were probably, the band members were probably more displeased with this producer selection than they were Phil Spector. And in my opinion, I think one of their greatest songs is on this record, and that's We Want the Airwaves. But other than that, I just don't think Gouldman appreciated the Ramones for what they were. I think in a lot of respects, I think he was more like he was producing the Bay City Rollers than he was producing the Ramones. Now, I got to admit that this is sort of a drop-off point for me where I started paying maybe less attention to the Ramones, and I think, I think their music started to change. I mean, the climate was changing. There was the alternative scene. There was a hardcore punk scene, and I think that was coming back. And I think the Ramones, sort of just changed their style a little bit. We're still sticking with the same band on the next release, which was Subterranean Jungle. It's got Psychotherapy on there, which was one of their staples for the longest time, and also a great cover, A Little Bit of Soul. So again, continuing with those covers, this was produced by Richie Cordell and Glenn Klotkin. So that was that. And then I think a lot of people think this is sort of the end of Ramones Phase 1. The Too Tough to Die. I know a lot of people think very highly of this record. I not one that I'm deeply in love with, but it does have Warthog on here that Dee Dee sang and was a big staple of their live show. This was produced by Tommy Ramone and Ed Stasium again, so Tommy came back into the Ramones, into the producing picture. And that was also the first record where Richie Ramone was the drummer. Marky was drinking a little too much, and he took a little hiatus for the band for the next couple of records. Now, this is also where we hit this part of music where CDs came out in a limited run back then, and this is 86 and 87, and these were not reissued, but my only copies of Animal Boy and Halfway Sanity are on vinyl. Again, not records that I really am greatly enamored with. This has got Somebody Put Something in My Drink, a great song that maybe Joey's vocal should have been redone. I know that was one thing I remember from reading in the book. And then I don't know, on Halfway to Sanity, I don't know. There's nothing really that got my attention incredibly here. And again, I am not the world's biggest Ramones fan, and I'm sure that some of you are gonna really give me a hard time on this, but I'll let you provide some input on the comments. I'd love to see it. Animal Boy was, strange enough, produced by John Beauvoir, who was the guy with the afro in the Plasmatics. And then Halfway to Sanity was produced by the Ramones with Daniel Ray, who was somebody who was quite associated with the band quite a bit as a songwriter and just being involved with the band. And he would also come on board to produce the next record, Brain Drain, along with John Beauvoir and Bill Laswell. Again, Brain Drain, not typically a special record for me, but the one thing on here that stands out is you got Pet Sematary, which was a great song that they did for the Stephen King movie of the same name. It turns out Stephen King was a big Ramones fan, so I think this was something that kind of worked both ways. And another cool cover, especially if you're an East Coast guy, Palisades Park, the amusement park where I used to go to as a kid. They do a cover of that on Brain Drain. So we've got 3 albums left in the Ramones' career, and Marky comes back for Mondo Bizarro. Again, for me, nothing really to mention on here that stands out at me. The song Censorship is interesting, though. That was sort of the reaction to the Tipper Gore stuff that was going on that time about labeling records. This was okay. I mentioned the producers on this. Marky comes back, and he'll stay through the end of the band. But, oh, I'm sorry, Mondo Bizarro was also Dee Dee's departure. Dee Dee had talked about leaving the band for quite a while and did leave and was replaced by CJ Ramone. And that's one thing you're going to find in these records. CJ sings a couple of songs. Nothing wrong with his singing, but, I mean, to me, I don't know. I just expect to hear Dee Dee when I hear the Ramones. Again, not a complaint, just kind of a surprise. Next album, the penultimate album, was produced by someone named Scott Hackwith. Not familiar with Scott. Ester Eaters, which was a covers record, and it's a great record. I really, really enjoy it. Again, just a good wide selection of stuff that the band liked growing up. But there's some oddballs in there. Dylan's My Back Pages. You got Surf City, where they get to do some surfing. Journey to the Center of the Mind, Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, Somebody to Love, Jefferson Airplane. I think this is pretty enjoyable. And then the final record, again, with CJ and Marky, again, Joey and Johnny, they're all the way through for the ride, was Adios Amigos, aptly titled Goodbye, Adios Amigos. Starts off with I Don't Want to Grow Up, which was a Tom Waits cover, very interesting. Again, I don't know, nothing else here that just kind of, knocked my socks off. And we're kind of running late. I'm going to kind of wrap up real quick. Just to remind you, a great live record. This is the box set for the It's Alive. They put this out in England only. It was a 12/31/77 performance. The box set gives you 4 complete shows, 4 complete shows from the 28th, 29th, and 30th. The day before. It's Alive 2. I think some of these are also coming out on vinyl for Record Store Day this coming Saturday. If you're really into collecting the Ramones, you probably know about this already, but there are some 40th anniversary editions of the early records with extra bonus tracks that you may want to go and get. But I'm kind of going fast. Appreciate comments. Teach me some things I don't know about some of these records. Tell me what to listen to. But I am gonna go with my top 5 here, and I'm gonna do it this way. Number 1 is Rocket to Russia, my favorite. Number 2, Road to Ruin. Number 3, End of the Century. Number 4, the debut album. And number 5, Leave Home. So the first 5 records, just in a little different order, is the way I did it. So, man, what a relief to get this out of the way. I apologize. It's probably not my most exhaustive and informative ranking that I've done, where I was, I had a good, solid background in the band, but I learned a lot going away, and I really enjoyed listening to these records. And even those latter records that I just wasn't wild about, I can't say there was a bad record in the bunch. It's just, in the amount of time that I listened to them, I just really can't say that anything just really grabbed me more so than the enjoyment I have in listening to those early records. But again, thank you. I don't know where we're going next with an artist, but we will be coming back shortly with another year. We've been also doing best of the year. I think we're going to do either 1974 or 1982 next. I'll keep you in suspense. But other than that, please, if you enjoy what we're doing, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We're getting our number of subscribers up there, which is exciting. And I'm having fun. I hope you are. Please leave me some comments about this. I need to learn more about the Ramones. So, gabba, gabba, hey. I was saving that for the end. Take care now.